Hi everyone, thank you so much for finding your way back to my channel. I just want to send you all positive vibes, peace, and love during this crazy time that we're experiencing as a planet, as a universe. The universe is not dramatic at all because there's so many parts of our universe that are being affected by what's happening right now with coronavirus and COVID-19, but we are positive vibes over here. We are happy to be alive. I hope that you all are warm and fed and excited just about what this time can bring into your life, if not just peace and solitude, clarity and enlightenment. We're going to hop right into our book review today. We are reading, resourcing, and reviewing The Value in the Valley by Iyanla Vanzant. So, I found out about this book a few years ago because my mother recommended it to me. She told me about Iyanla and she said, you have to read her books. I have 6 or 7 or 8 of her books. She is amazing. The subtitle of this book is A Black Woman's Guide Through Life's Dilemmas. So a lot of Iyanla's writings are geared towards Black women, but really reading The Value of the Valley, I knew that anybody can benefit from the teachings in this book. And especially during this time, during this valley that we are going through, I thought, what better of a book to figure out how can we find the value in what this time means for our lives. And we're going to utilize Iyanla's book today to look into that as well as review for anybody who's interested in learning more about the book. So, Iyanla defines the valley as a life situation designed to teach a character trait or spiritual virtue which has been undeveloped or underdeveloped during the course of your life. So the valley is anything that is happening in your life that is challenging you to be a better person. And one of the main themes, the reoccurring messages that the author talks about in this book is how every valley, every relationship, every moment, every circumstance is an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself and develop a deeper level of self-love, because there is no other relationship in your life except the one that you are having with yourself. So the valley is a time where you really get to see how life circumstances are pointing out what parts of yourself you need to work on and go inward to so that you can be a better you. So there are 10 valleys that the author goes through in The Value of the Valley. So we have the Valley of Light, the Valley of Understanding, the Valley of Courage, the Valley of Knowledge and Wisdom, the Valley of OPP, which are other people's problems, the Valley of Comeuppance, the Valley of Purpose and Intent, the Valley of Non-Resistance, the Valley of Success, and the Valley of Love. We're not going to go through all of them today, but we're just going to highlight a few of the valleys and talk a little bit about how the author highlights the experiences that we have in these areas of our lives and gives us insight on how we can make the most of them. So one of the valleys that Iyanla talks about, the very first valley, is the Valley of Light. And she describes this valley as any situation that brings you awareness and understanding about what you really need in order to feel good and to be okay. So any situation that's kind of like an aha moment that you have about something that you really need or that's really important to you is something that's taking you through the Valley of Light. And this valley is really important because it sets the foundation for the other valleys to come. It's what lets you know the difference between what is right for you and what is not right for you, what feels good and what doesn't feel good. And sometimes when we're younger, we don't really quite know how to articulate that we're uncomfortable with something, or that we need more of something, or that something makes us happy or doesn't make us feel good. But the Valley of Light is any situation where you're able to see, this is something that's important to me, and this is something that I need or that I don't want or don't need moving forward so that I can be perfect, whole, and complete for myself and for my life. And what are the things that are really important to us? What things can we live without? What sacrifices can we make? And what things do we know at the end of the day, this is something that I need and this is something that's important to me in order for me to feel good and be purposed in my life? Beyond this pandemic, what does the other side of this look like? And that's how this experience is taking us through the valley of light. Another valley that Iyanla talks about in the book is the valley of courage. And she says this valley is a dark, heavy valley, right? Specifically, she says the valley of courage is related to fear of criticism, being wrong, being alone, and not being in control. Criticism, being wrong, being alone, and not being in control. How many of us can relate to those things? I know I can, okay? We're constantly being challenged to see how courageous we can be in all aspects of our lives, right? So the valley of courage is when you get called out onto the carpet because something makes you uncomfortable and something makes you go into this place of being fearful, of really just being accepting of what's happening, really saying, you know what, I'm gonna allow this thing to happen. You know what, I can receive this negative feedback. You know what, I can be where I am and not live in a space of fear about where I am not. One thing I really liked about the Valley of Courage is Iyanla talks about that what you create in your mind becomes your experience. The exact quote that she said, I want to write it, I wrote it down because I wanted to give it to you all. She says, what you experience and believe you will make manifest by your belief in its existence, right? So she's saying it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what you say, but it's what you expect to happen that is going to produce the results of your life. What you expect to manifest is going to be the clear indicator of what you will be able to manifest. So I thought it was so powerful when she talked about the power of the mind and the power of looking at courage from this very mental state of being able to tell yourself, I can do it. I am whole. I can go after this thing that I want. I don't have to be afraid of being hurt or being misunderstood. But that courage is not even just the act of courage, but it's how you wire your brain to perceive what is happening around you from a place of I'm centered and I'm allowing and I'm willing to show up how I need to show up. And I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to be scared. I don't have to be all out of sorts because things aren't the way that I need them to be. And of course, how we can gain from the Valley of Courage during this time is by telling ourselves that we can get through this, by reminding ourselves that we are the masters of our minds, and anything that we can imagine, we can have. So if we want happiness, if we want fulfillment, if we want peace, if we want love, if we want ease, we can have all those things once we mentally place ourselves in those things and remove fear from the equation. Another valley that Iyanla talks about in this book is the valley of knowledge and wisdom. And this valley she describes is all of the circumstances in your life that really teach you the importance of obeying your spirit, right? Of being able to tune in to that intuition, that voice inside of you that's telling you something, and how knowledge and wisdom really come from spirit or really birthed from spirit. So she says any experience that reminds you that at the end of the day, the most important thing that you can do is be in communication with yourself and trust yourself. Trust what you know. Trust your past experiences. Trust that you've overcome everything else in your life and you can continue to overcome. Trust the signs. Pay attention to the warnings and live your life from wisdom. The virtue of wisdom is a virtue that will take you far, that will allow you to live a healthy, wealthy, and whole life. The last valley that she talks about is the valley of love. And she says this is the valley where you know that everything that is for you is for you, and everything that is not for you is not for you. So in order to really live a life worth living and be in the flow of unconditional love, you have to accept. You have to accept things as they are. You have to have unconditional love first for yourself above all else, so that you can love and be in a loving interaction or relationship with anyone or anything. The Valley of Love is really designed to teach us that at the core of who we are loving beings, and that everything that is around us is working in our favor, so that we can always return back to a place of loving ourselves. So the importance of unconditional love for others first comes from being able to unconditionally love ourselves. So how we can gain from all of these valleys while we're in this time right now is just reminding ourselves that we have everything we need inside of us to overcome any obstacle. There is nothing that we could experience that we cannot overcome. We are designed by the Almighty, the all-powerful, the all-being, the all-seeing, the great I am, to be able to overcome anything mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. So there is no obstacle that will come into your life that you are not able to get over, that you cannot get to the other side of. And that's what the Value of the Valley is really about. It's about teaching us not only that we can get to the other side, but how we can understand the journey as we're going through it, even when it's dark or confusing or maybe even painful, that we can really gain from the experiences that cause us the most pain and confusion. And that is the value of the valley. The experience of reading this book was really interesting. As you can see, I have these little tabs. I thought it was great. Iyanla even included this, if you can see it, there's a chart, and it talks about the valleys, the laws, the life lessons, the virtues. So the book is very detailed. And if you've read any of Miss Vanzant's books before, you know that she uses a lot of stories, personal stories from people to kind of give insight and clarity to the message that she's trying to give people. So you get a lot of testimonials, of course changed around with the names and everything, but I really liked reading this book. It's dense, so it's definitely one of those books that you have to be patient with reading, but overall I was able to gain a lot from it, and I think the overall messages of the book are really what's going to stick with me. If you're familiar with Iyanla, you know that she is a very passionate speaker, and her writing is right up that alley, or should I say right up that valley. Okay, but yes, so she's a passionate writer. If you're into dense writing and you like heavy, deep, rich, really rich writing styles, you'll definitely like it. If you're not so into that, it might be a book that you might want to skim through or listen to the abridged version on the audiobook app if you have one, or get one. But all in all, I think that the book is really good. I think that it's designed for you to read it really when you can gain most from it. That's when you'll be able to get the most from it, when you're in a situation that's requiring you to go within to seek the answers. I think overall the Value of the Valley is profound and meaningful because we're always going through something, and any piece of advice that is going to remind you how to process your thoughts when you're having an experience that is challenging you is one that you can take and really apply firsthand. So I think that that's what makes the Value of the Valley meaningful. You can find the Value of the Valley on Amazon. I got my copy handed down from my mama. But you can find the Value of the Valley as well as other Iyanla Vanzant books anywhere books are sold. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm sending you all love again. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and even turn on your notifications bell so that you can get a tip every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you all later. Peace and love and prosperity.